Returning back to Malazan Book of the Fallen, after having recently spent so much time in the season 2 of the Wheel of Time and rereading those first pretty much 5 Wheel of Time books, and actually reread a couple of the early books a couple of times in these past few months. Going back into Malazan Book of the Fallen, in this case Toll the Hounds, is like this weird almost culture shock for a moment. It reminds me of quite a long time ago, late 80s I think. I spent a week just listening to the band Traffic for like a week straight. I had all their albums on cassette tapes and my Sony cassette Walkman, and I was just binging their albums for an entire week. And when it kind of ran its course for me, I sat there and like, okay, what in the world am I going to listen to now? Like, what's the first song I'm going to pick to kind of shift my music brain away from Traffic? So I picked Prince. I think it was it Around the World in 80 Days? I can't remember the name of that album, but the album with Paisley Park and Raspberry Beret and all those things. I picked that, and I probably put Paisley Park on. And talk about just like your brain being like ripped through a wormhole into a different dimension. Now, Prince is one of my all-time favorites, and Traffic is one of my all-time favorites, and they are so completely different from each other in terms of musical style that there was this weird sort of like distortion to reality for like just a couple of minutes until my brain is like, okay, we're back to all this other stuff. And diving back into Toll the Hounds after spending just deep diving back into the Wheel of Time for the past few months. Again, that sort of weird disorientation almost, like, oh, I forgot how so completely different, even though both are high fantasy stories. Malazan is such a differently written story. There's so many layers, so many more characters. Very, I don't know, dense, but not in a bad way. Just a very different style of storytelling. Toll the Hounds starts off in Darujistan, so I'm back with Kruppa and some of the bridge burners. So these are some of my favorite characters in this entire story. These are my favorite people to be with in terms of story-wise. So I'm really curious to see how Toll the Hounds is going to go, because some people love it, and there are other people who aren't the biggest fans of it, from what I've heard. But right away, we're with some of my absolute favorite characters, so I'm having a blast. But I'm still very early in. I'm just midway through chapter 3, so it's a while. I barely dipped a toe into this book. It is striking how completely different the writing style of two different authors writing what is kind of effectively the same sort of genre, how different they can be. And if you've only read The Wheel of Time and never Malazan, as soon as you pick up the first book and you start reading, you're going to see right away how different a style the writing is. And same in the other direction as well. Wheel of Time is a much quicker read for me than Malazan, because Malazan is just written in a way where there's so many things happening. But I'm just glad to be back in this story world. I don't know if I can, but I really want to finish off Malazan by the end of the year, because 2024, one of the main things I want to concentrate on in terms of sci-fi and fantasy is getting back to Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere. I've read Elantris and the first Mistborn book. I actually started with Elantris, even though so many big Brandon Sanderson channels don't recommend starting with Elantris because it was his first book, and you can see it's got that first book feel. So they recommend something like Malazan or some other books first, and then you come back to Elantris. But I wanted to start with Elantris, and I absolutely loved it. Even though you could see, yes, there are some signs of it being a first book, but I thoroughly enjoyed the characters and the setting. And from my perspective, if that's on the lower end of a Cosmere book, I think this is going to be one of the great like sci-fi fantasy series. So, but we'll see. So I really want to get back to Cosmere and finally just do a Cosmere read through. And who knows, maybe another Cosmere book will be published while I'm in the middle of that, because Sanderson is a prolific writer. He writes and writes and writes. He's the anti George R.R. Martin. I don't know how many books Sanderson's put out in this period of time. We're still waiting for The Winds of Winter. I'm sure someone knows what that is, so you can let me know in the comments down below if you know how many books Brandon Sanderson has written and published in this, 11-year period or whatever it is at this point. Now, all of that said, this weekend, I'm definitely going to be live streaming Sunday evening. I think it's probably going to be a more kind of laid back, relaxed, let's just have some fun in like how to reboot the MCU. Because we're at the point now where they're going to be bringing in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Basically, characters that they didn't have the rights to when they started with Iron Man. Had they had the rights, we would have had the Fantastic Four and the X-Men and everything from the beginning. So I'll probably want to do just a kind of casual, fun little live stream to just play around with some Marvel properties and come up with like what I would do to how I would introduce these two in particular, the Fantastic Four and X-Men, if I was the one in charge. So that's going to be Sunday afternoon. I just kind of wanted to do this quick little video here because I took most of October off because my sister came down and spent most of the month with me. And if you see things look a little different here, it's because she decided to rearrange my main living space. And to her credit, how she redesigned it and moved everything around actually works so much better and flows so much better. It's a bit odd for me to be here in this spot, in this room with this setup, because I'm used to being over that way in that corner of the room, and now I'm over on this side of the room. So it's really strange. So this is the first video, in fact, that I'm filming with things moved around. So I still have to sort out whether there's going to be lighting or who knows what back there. So we'll see. That's my kitchen back that way. So having it dark right now works perfectly fine for me. Now that that break is done, I'm going to be diving back in and hopefully back to some consistency on the channel. But like I said, right now it's Malazan is my priority, finishing off To Hold the Hounds, and hopefully the last couple of books of the series, but we'll see. There are some things I like to read at the end of the year. Probably Tolkien's Letters from Father Christmas is something, and I might do A Christmas Carol again, because I like reading both of those around Christmas time, but again, that's a month and a half away. So anyway, I just kind of want to pop back in, get this video up, say hello, I'm here, I'm back. That break was very nice, very needed. If this is your first time here, hi, Charles. It's my SirBookSage channel. I talk about science fiction and fantasy. Some of it's book related, some of it's TV show, movie, live action, animation, anywhere, that whole realm, anything sci-fi and fantasy related. And that includes like superhero stuff and comic books and stuff. Like, subscribe, all the YouTubey things. And I'm so close to 2,000 subscribers as of the making of this video. I've just been like stagnant at around this, 1980 or so subscribers. So hopefully I can crack that 2,000 subscriber mark by the end of the year. We'll see. So if you're watching this and you've checked out any of my stuff, don't forget to click that live tab. All my Wheel of Time Season 2 stuff, by the way, I did as live streams. While Season 2 was a much better season than Season 1, the last 2 episodes of Season 2 were just god-awful. And let's just say the 2 live streams combined, me talking about those last 2 episodes, totals about 6 hours. So I had a lot to say, and a lot of it sadly wasn't very enjoyable to watch. I mean, enjoyable to watch me, yes. I'm great to watch. You can enjoy the hell out of watching me. But me enjoying the last 2 episodes of Season 2, oh, my God, man. I'll just say this, if you haven't watched any of those live streams, I don't even know why they have Randall Thor in this TV show, since they've basically taken away from him anything he does in the book so far. You'll probably find a playlist in the cards or something here if you want to go and watch those, I don't know how many hours it is. It's a long playlist at this point, covering those 8 episodes. I know it's a lot more than 8 hours, me talking about those 8 episodes all together, so you can always pop it on at the start of your day and have it playing while you're doing your stuff. With all of that said, thanks for watching.